Take a look at Lake Tempe in South Sulawesi, Indonesia. For the people who live here, water is the foundation of daily life. Entire communities, complete with homes and commuter boats, exist entirely on the surface of the lake. You might assume high school students growing up in this environment would be intuitive masters of physics, navigating buoyancy and fluid dynamics every single day. But when researchers tested their conceptual understanding of the water they live on, the results were surprisingly poor. Ask these students whether a floating house with many buoys is safer than one with few, and they know the practical answer is yes. But when asked to explain why it works, their scientific reasoning often fails to match the physical reality. Experiencing a physical phenomenon day in and day out does not automatically equip a person with a working scientific understanding of it. The root of this disconnect comes from how these subjects are taught. Traditional schooling often traps physics inside a classroom, reducing it to abstract formulas on a chalkboard that feel disconnected from the student's physical world. Instead of learning how water actually behaves, students memorize rigid textbook definitions, stating that an object's mass and material dictate whether it sinks or floats. In the process, they miss the crucial concepts of volume and displacement. This pedagogical failure creates an illusion of knowledge. A student might perfectly recite a formula, but when faced with real-world variables, they lack the critical thinking required to actually solve a problem. Educators realized that before these students could apply physics to new challenges, they first had to confront the gaps in what they already knew. Solving real problems starts with identifying exactly where a theoretical model fails to match the facts. The solution came as EthnoSTEAM project-based learning, a complete reversal of traditional lectures. Instead of taking notes, students faced a challenge: collaboratively engineer miniature floating houses and support boats, utilizing the same local materials found in structures like the one seen here. This project breaks down into 4 pillars. Technology dictates local materials, while engineering maps the placement of floating buoys. In science and math, students calculate downward gravity and upward buoyancy. Together, these pillars transform a cultural artifact into a rigorous physics test. In this setting, traditional practices function as an engineering framework. The project shifts from simply preserving customs to decoding the physical logic keeping the community afloat. The real lesson begins during testing, when students pile physical weights onto their newly constructed miniatures. This is where the moment of failure occurs. Because students built models based on flawed theories about mass, their designs quickly capsize and sink. Psychologists call this cognitive conflict. It's the shock and the learning opportunity that happens when a deeply held assumption is proven empirically false right before your eyes. To fix their sinking models, students make a crucial discovery. By increasing the volume of the immersed object, adding supports to the sides, they dramatically increase the upward buoyant force. Here, Archimedes' principle transforms from a memorized equation into a tangible survival mechanism. True conceptual understanding is achieved when the illusion of knowledge is shattered by undeniable physical reality. The empirical results are clear. This chart shows a steep decline in physics misconceptions following the EthnoSTEAM intervention. Simultaneously, a second metric tracking higher-order thinking skills rose inversely. The data reveals a 0.919 correlation between improved critical thinking and the drop in scientific misunderstandings. The results suggest that correcting a student's misconceptions does more than improve their test scores. It strengthens the underlying logic they use to process information and solve new, unrelated problems. Ultimately, the success of the Lake Tempe project extends beyond getting better grades on a high school physics exam. Bridging heritage with STEM changes how students view their environment. The landscape shifts from a daily backdrop into a site for active scientific inquiry. This approach demonstrates that cultural practices provide the raw material for rigorous science. When students analyze what is already familiar, they develop the mental flexibility needed for modern technical work. The most effective scientific laboratories aren't always built with white walls and microscopes.